week 3 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few kickers I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Dustin Hopkins of the Cleveland Browns. So right now, Hopkins so far off to a good start with his new team this season in terms of putting up fantasy points and getting opportunities. Week 1, he had 12 fantasy points. In week 2 at Pittsburgh, 9 fantasy points, including he did miss a field goal in that one. So week 3 here in a grinded out type of ball game versus Tennessee Titan defense. That's a bend but don't break type of D. I think Dustin Hopkins once again could have anywhere from 8 to 10 fantasy points at the kicker position. And like I said, he's in an offense it's going to be a little tougher to punch it in with no Nick Chubb, obviously in those goal line packages and stuff. So right now, he's a sleeper, and if you need a kicker in deeper leagues, available in 97% of leagues. Next kicker is Joey Sly of the Washington Commanders. So we know Joey Sly's always had a big boot and a kicker that could put it through the uprights, especially in his Carolina Panther days. So right now, available in 99% of fantasy leagues. And the first 2 weeks here, he's put up numbers as well. Week 1 versus Arizona, 8 fantasy points. And week 2 with Denver, 11 fantasy points. So this week in a ball game versus a tough defense where it's going to be tough to find the end zone, I believe, for this Commander team, even though they're going to still have to put points on the board. I think, once again, Joey Sly could have a decent ball game versus the Buffalo Bills. And like I said, available in 99% of fantasy leagues. And he's a kicker that's always had a big boot where he could hit it from 50+. And the third and final kicker I have as a sleeper this week here is Brett Maher of the Los Angeles Rams. So very surprising that Maher is still in the league after last season. He definitely imploded for the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs, missing a record 5 in a row along 2 games, 4 versus the Tampa Bay Bucks and then 1 versus the San Francisco 49ers. But anyway, right now, he's been pretty solid here for this Los Angeles Ram team in the early going. Week 1 at Seattle, 15 fantasy points, and week 2 versus the Niners, 13 fantasy points. And right here, week 3, a good matchup on Monday Night Football here at the Cincinnati Bengals that do give up the 4th most fantasy points to kickers on the season. But right now, Brett Maher, we'll see if he can continue this, obviously. The good thing with him, he does play in a dome. His games this season were playing for the Los Angeles Rams. But right here this week, if you're desperate for a kicker and a guy, to be honest, who's been putting up points amongst the league leaders in fantasy points over the first 2 weeks here, he's available in 94% of fantasy leagues in the sleeper this week. So that's a few kickers I have as sleepers for week 3 of the fantasy football season.